Hi there, everybody. I'm Fred Thomas, and you are watching All Things Bike. And today we are speaking with Jason Yannelli of the U.S. Military Endurance Sport Elite Cycling Team. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Fred.
Hey, anytime. Now, explain to us the mission and the vision of USMES.
So our mission is pretty much to keep veterans healthy. There's a kind of growing trend where, veterans get out of the service and they lose that physical fitness routine and regiment, and they put a lot of weight on and become unhealthy. So we try and promote a healthy lifestyle and get them out there doing some sports, whether it's cycling, running, triathlons, some sort of endurance sport, and keep them healthy. And we do that by partnering with some good sponsors and stuff, giving them some discounts, so keep it affordable for them.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, when did the team get started?
So they started in 2009. It was generally just an elite cycling team back then.
Right.
So with I think there was only like 12 original members or something, 9 to 12.
This is nationwide.
Yeah, nationwide on the whole team. So, and from that we've grown to about 1,500 members. We grow about 50 to 55 new members a month, which is awesome, but that's worldwide, so.
Okay. I mean, these are numbers that are utterly, totally unheard of in amateur cycling.
We've probably become one of the biggest clubs, I don't know.
You're adding a club a month, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fantastic. And was there a story that sort of started this off? I mean, with the 12 guys, did they suddenly, have an epiphany or an experience that said, man, we should bring this nationwide?
Well, I think so active duty teams, there's a couple of them, like the Air Force has an active duty team, and like each branch will have like their own little team. And I think what happened is, once they got out, there was no, after the fact, when you're out and you're a veteran, there was no general veteran team, and so it's kind of transitioned to that. Yeah. So to kind of, give something for the guys that are out, or girls that are out, a chance to still ride and race with other veterans without having to be on actual active duty anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating to me. So when you were in the Marines and you were racing before you were in the Marines, and then you joined, and then what happened? You stopped, there was no racing?
No.
Or were there guys racing and you wanted to, I mean,
so I sold my bike right before I went in, kind of made the decision, well, I'm going to do this before, I can't do it. And I sold it, and I went in, and so there's not much chance to train. I was in the infantry and enlisted, so every other week was, 1 week was out in the field, 1 week was back, cleaning weapons, and then go right back to the field, or we'd be deployed so much. Yeah. So there was really no chance. I did link up with the Marine Corps triathlon team for one summer and managed to get some riding in and trying to do something, but it was pretty short-lived, and it was on a borrowed bike that I had spray painted because it was
wrong color.
Yeah,
spray painted green, right?
Yeah, and a custom ride kind of, and.
Well, that's fascinating because I don't think many people would expect that in the military there would be a cycling team or a triathlon team with active duty riders, but I guess there is, and I guess it just depends on what part of the service you're in. And is there a service that has has more riders or triathletes than?
Yeah, there's definitely, so, I mean, especially with the Marine Corps overall is smaller. Right. So the percentage of Marines on the team is definitely smaller. And, there's definitely like the certain branches that, either don't deploy as much, or they get stationed in the same place for 4 years. It makes it a lot easier for them to train and kind of have a, a normal schedule.
So the Air Force is
yes, they're pretty much the predominant members of the team, and they've even got they've got a huge Air Force cycling team.
I think that's why I think I've seen on the jersey, the Air Force cycling team. Yeah, you see the star with the wings. I get it. Well, what about the culture? That's what sort of popped into my mind when I realized that there were these active duty teams. How does the cultures of the two disciplines sort of work together, or how are they similar? How are they different? So you've got a military culture, and then you have the endurance sport culture, and they're two pretty different things. I mean, how do you talk about that?
Well, I think that especially, everybody that goes in the military gets that, whether it's at basic training or even once they hit, the fleet or whatever branch they're in, wherever they're stationed, there's still that physical fitness regimen that they have to follow. So it almost falls right in line with endurance sports. Pretty much every branch has a physical fitness test where you're running. So that falls right into, there it goes. There's one step in a triathlon, and some of them, like the Marine Corps, we have a swim qual.
Right.
So you're already, 2/3 there now because you got to swim and you got to run to be a Marine. So, and all you got to do is grab a bike.
Yeah, easy. There are lots of those around. No, that's cool. Well, that's fascinating. Well, you talk about the USMES team in Maine and New England. How many? And
we're growing. So the Region 1 is it's Maine, New Hampshire, Mass, and we cover New York and all the way down to New Jersey. So geographically, we're spread out pretty far. Maine has the smallest percent. Well, obviously Rhode Island has the smallest.
Okay, yeah.
They win by default.
Right.
But New Hampshire actually has a pretty good percentage. In New York, but we have about 105. I think we just actually had 2 people join in Region 1, so we're up to 107 out of that 1,500 roughly. So we're a pretty good sized region with a good member base. And but that's made up. So of that 107, not all of them are cyclists. They could be just runners. A lot of triathletes. We do have the adventure sports, and then there's some. I don't think we have any para athletes in Region 1, but we've got quite a few of those across the board as a whole. So.
Oh, neat. Well, then how about with the cycling segment? I mean, there's you in Maine, and I think I've seen some of the jerseys in Massachusetts. I mean, what races are you doing, and what categories are you in typically?
So the cycling team, we cover everything from the Cat 5 just started racer, all the way up to we have a couple pros on the team, and the elite team is pretty much made up of Cat 2s and 3s. And that way we can get, try and get a squad together to go to some of these races. And we'll have big focus races for the year. Right. Because the team's spread out all over the U.S. and we have one member that's in Okinawa, Japan. Oh, yeah. So he actually came to Sea Otter, which was a focus race for us, so it's quite a jet lag and a time change.
Training all year, right?
Yeah, he's training all year. Yeah. It actually gets too hot there to train with the humidity. It's pretty hot place.
Perfect for Georgia then.
Yeah, it's perfect for that time of year. Yeah. So, but we actually have the Armed Forces cycling classes coming up this weekend down in D.C., and we're going to have a good turnout there, and that's one of our biggest turnouts for the General Club overall, and that's Boeing puts that on, and that's one of our primary sponsors. So it's a huge event. Wow. And it looks like it's going to be perfect weather for it this weekend, and I'm pumped.
And you're ready.
I'm ready again.
Yeah. And I mean, so it's all the services. It's just the services, and there's a road race, or it's a crit time trial, or mostly just a crit?
There's 2 crits. There's a crit on Saturday and Sunday. Right. And then Sunday morning they have this cool event. It's called the Challenge Ride. So they actually shut down like a 6-mile loop right in Arlington. You go past the Pentagon.
It's not flat.
It's a beautiful. They shut the course down. It's huge, and the challenge ride consists of, you can ride for your club or your team, and you can also ride for your service, like your branch. And it's a competition to see what branch can do the most laps. Oh, right. And so there's some people that are out there just to ride 1 or 2 laps, and there's some that are out there, it's a 3-hour, like just a pro race almost. They're just hammering around there in this one group and trying to see who can get the most. To the
bitter end.
Yeah, to the bitter end. So
that's excellent. Well, I mean, how do you get onto the elite team? I mean, you just sign up, or you submit a resume of some sort, or are you selected?
Well, we actually have so it starts in September, usually September, October timeframe. They open up the selection process. And you start with just a basic questionnaire, why are you interested in being on the elite team, what's your discipline, you're a triathlete, a road racer, a runner, and some background information, and, just to see like a pre-screening type deal. Sure, right. And then from there you'll get if you pass the pre-screening, there'll be another round of questions more in depth, about like, why do you want to be on the elite team, how do you promote the sport, what's your background, they want to see if you're passionate about the sport. There's a lot of people that love or race, but it's like they don't really love to ride their bike too, you know.
Travel.
So you really got to be, love the sport and love promoting it and getting other people involved with it too. So.
Right. Well, that's great. And then what is the dynamic on the team? Because I mean, you've got some guys who are from the Air Force and some from the Marines, and they all have different backgrounds, and they're from different parts of the country. And then you turn up at Sea Otter or Green Mountain or Washington. And I mean, how does what's the vibe?
It's pretty interesting. So with the elite team being, you can either be active duty. So we have one guy on the elite team. He just graduated West Point.
Right.
And then we have veterans, and like myself, I'm not quite old enough to be his dad, but close, you know what I mean? So
that's master cycling.
Yeah, so, but we're the same, we're both cat trees, and, we race together, but, so there's some little heckling that goes on in between, you know what I mean? But it keeps it interesting, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And once you get going, though, you're all you're all in the same team.
Yeah, and that's the cool part, when we show up to a race, even if you've never really ridden with them before or whatever, being a veteran, it's just, what's the game plan? What are we going to do? And we stick to it, you know what I mean?
No, you have that training, I would imagine. Yeah. Well, then how about the other teams, the other guys in the race from the clubs, from the civilian clubs? I mean, how do they treat you any different? Is there a dynamic going on that you notice?
I've noticed a couple times when I've been racing by myself. They'll be it'll be all strung out, and they'll be like, they'll always like to say, "Hey, come on in, Army," because they see the star, and it's like, they'll let me in, and I'll be like, "Actually, I was a Marine,"
Yeah, right.
And they get a little chuckle out of it. But there's definitely quite a few times I've been let in or given a spot because of the red, white, and blue and the stars there. And it's a nice reward.
I think so. No, that's great, and I'm sure that it makes sense. I mean, no one wants to everyone wants to be inclusive, and that's great. I mean, I always wondered. I've seen the teams out there, and I didn't fully understand what the background is, but now it's very clear, and it's great to see you guys out there. But now you said that you suffered a traumatic brain injury at some point, and then you recovered. You spent a lot of time recovering, and so there are a lot of veterans out there who have been injured in some way. And in your experience, did cycling help with the recovery process?
So I really didn't start cycling in the initial recovery process, but the overall long-term goal is like the cycling, the physical fitness and the stress relief and the mental, that has been a huge, and it's definitely for a lot of veterans, that's played, a huge part in the recovery and staying recovered, and not kind of slipping back to like that rough area in between, and staying on the good lifestyle and the healthy side. So. Yeah, it's definitely made a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think it applies to, I know, in my case, I mean, if I didn't have cycling, I'd have no friends, I'd have no schedule, and I mean, in a way, it does the same things, stress relief, and gets you out of the house and see parts of the country or the neighborhood, and that's great that it's been institutionalized. I mean, are there some stories that the team uses to sort of demonstrate how cycling has helped some veterans?
Well, we kind of use, like on the elite team, on our roster, like everybody has a motto. That's kind of, a trademark thing of the militaries. There's always, whether it's a unit motto or branch motto. And so the people kind of have a model to tell their story, about what drives them, and keeps them going and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, what was yours, or?
So mine is it's kind of funny. It's just 3 letters. It's YUT. It's Y-U-T. So YUT is a form of motivation in the Marine Corps. A lot of times people say "oorah," but there's another like side form. People will be like "yut yut." Well, my last name was actually pretty hard to pronounce, so a lot of the Marines would just call me Sergeant Yut because I'm pretty motivated. So it's kind of broken into. We'll be racing, and then when it's time for me to go, the other teammates will just yell "yut yut," and I just go. That's when I know. But everybody else is like, "What are they even saying?" So that's kind of my little motto that I use.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Well, tell us about the sponsors. What's their role, and how have they advanced the program?
So we got Boeing is like our primary sponsor, and then we've got like Pearl Izumi makes us some great kits. We got some awesome, Stars and Stripes, red, white, and blue, and we've got like Goo for nutrition, essential water for water, and felt bicycles. we just picked up Yakima for all our racks and stuff like that. So being such a huge club, we get a really good, a team deal.
Right.
Because we have so many members and we buy in such volume.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a really good, and then we have a lot of even Black Diamond, laser helmets, Shimano, Night wheels,
Right.
It's a pretty good deal for a veteran.
Yeah, that's great, and I mean, great perks. But are there training camps too that you can attend? Or
so we have a yearly training camp in Tucson, Arizona, which is a perfect timing for the Northeast because it's in March.
Sure, yeah.
So there's nothing better in March than to escape New England weather and go out to sunny Tucson where it's 85 in the afternoon, and
Mount Lemmon beckons.
Yeah, and we climb we do Madeira Canyon, Kit Peak, and the final day is Mount Lemmon. It's about a 400-mile week.
Wow.
And we break into different groups, and it's just, it's supported for every group and every ability. And, it's we get everybody from all over the U.S., so it's a good time.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, Tucson is the epicenter of sort of off-season cycling, and it's great that you're able to get there. But what about, so you're in the midst of racing season, you've got the DC events. Anything else on the horizon in terms of races?
So we got DC's are the big focus one coming up this weekend, and then we just had some guys do Dirty Kansas the 200 there, which is I find crazy.
Oh, this is that thing out in is it Kansas? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a DK 200.
Yeah, right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
that's going to be. But I'll be doing a lot of local crits, and then we do have a regional focus event, we call it. So Green Mountain Stage Race is a regional focus, and we're trying to get some members of the elite team to come, and more of a bigger turnout than a normal race. We try and offset some lodging costs to make it a little bit more worth their while to come out and try and get a good group there. But and I also might go out to the tour of Dairylands. We might get quite a few guys out there, hopefully.
Where's that, in Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, yeah. That's
good guess.
It's crazy. You'd love it. It's 11 crits in a row.
Oh,
11 days, 11 crits.
What? I don't know about that. Maybe the first and the second day I can handle it. But, well, that's good. And what are there charity events that pop up that the team will attend, or do you organize an event like that? Or?
Well, we usually we just hopped on a ride. New Hampshire did a 50-mile ride, to promote suicide awareness for veterans.
Right.
So we got a small group together that, and there was a bunch of guys raising a bunch of money. It's a very good cause, and especially since we're all veterans. And go down there and put a show on in and talk to people and.
Get them out there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great, Jason. Well, look, it's a great program, and thanks for coming down and describing it and making it clear to everybody what it's all about. And I will see you out there. I'm not sure about DC, but maybe Vermont. And you had a great spring classic season at the Crit Series. So
we'll see you at the time trials. That's for sure.
Exactly. Let's do that. Keep it simple. All right, everybody. That was Jason Yannelli of the U.S. Military Endurance Sports Elite Racing Team. If you want to know more about this program and the team, you can check it out online. You find out about all the programs, how to join. It's very informative stuff. That's all we've got time for right now. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.
All Things Bike with Fred Thomas is brought to you by Zentis. Performance carbon wheels handmade in Austria for road and off-road riding. Zentis, next generation wheels. And Frame and Wheel eBay bike selling services. Time, space, cash. Pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.